Hello, hi, it's Liz here, and today I'm going to do some paper piecing for my junk journal. Paper piecing is a technique, let me get the right page, that I used to use quite a lot in my card making days, and I thought I would resurrect it for my journal so you can get results like this by paper piecing your stamps. It's really effective. I'll just show you. So if you fancy trying, we're going to use this stamp and paper piece. Let me just show you that without a glare. Paper piece for this side of the journal. So I'm looking forward to showing you how I do the paper piecing. I'll just put the journal aside. And yeah, so I'm going to use this stamp, which is a Julie Nutting Prima stamp called Clarissa. The one that I did that's already in the journal is the same range, Prima, and she's called Merry. So I believe they're all still available, they're not that old. So paper piecing means that you start with a whole image. I'm going to stamp using my VersaFine Onyx Black. I'm using that because it's waterproof, because I'm paper piecing. These are hair on this one. And colouring in the face, because, well, I suppose you could paper piece it if you had a flesh coloured piece of paper, but I don't, so I'm just going to colour in the bits that I'm not going to be piecing. So that's us stamped. We'll just sit that there just now because we'll need it again, because we repeat stamp for each piece. So I've already stamped some of the bits. Maybe I'm jumping ahead here, so I just wanted to show you so that you would know what I'm aiming for. So I've done those pieces, and I've also got a little crown to sit in behind there when the time comes. So we can set that aside for now, and I'm going to use this piece of scrap paper, which was a Happy Mail letter, and I thought the back was a lovely pattern. So we bring the stamp back in. This time we don't need to stamp the ink up the whole stamp, because all I want to do is get this middle piece of hair. So we can just try and get that bit. Doesn't matter obviously if it goes over the edges. So we're just going to stamp on the patterned paper. So you can use book pages, or like I've done there, music pages, a scrap piece of scrapbook paper, or digipaper, or anything at all that I would say that it needs to have, like, we'll just roughly cut this out just now so that I can get to the bit that I want. Right, what I would say is that it's helpful, or it works out better, if the pattern is quite a small pattern, if you know what I mean. It's not got like one big huge flower, because then when you're stamping and cutting it out, you don't really get to see what the pattern is, and you don't get the effect. So I would say that what you need is paper with small patterns. So old book pages are ideal, because the writing in the print the font is really small usually. So all we're doing is, just lean forward a wee bit to let you see. It's hard when you're reaching out to cut. It makes it go a bit wobbly. Right, so now we want to just cut round the piece that we want. So that's this line here, so that we can fill in that bit of hair that's missing. I don't fussy cut so well on the camera. It makes me shaky. I'm sure you'll forgive my shake. Here we are. Done. So we don't need those bits. Let me see if I've gone. I think I'm okay. So you can see how all that just, it's like a jigsaw puzzle. Just all fits together. Once it's glued, it'll fit better. And then we can just put, before we stick down the green one, the green floral, we'll just put our little crown on. Okay, so that's all the pieces for the paper piecing. Let's colour in the bits that we're not going to paper piece. So I've got my usual Zig Clean Colour Real Brush markers, and this is just the flesh colour, the palest colour. I'm not going to use any water. I'm just going to go, these brushes I'll need to treat myself because they're actually nearly dry, so if I had to dilute them with water it would just be too pale and you wouldn't see, and I do want it to be quite bold. So this is just the pink, and we'll give her a little blush there, and maybe just a little blush round the edges, just to give it a little bit of shadow. And this is oatmeal, yep, and another little degree of shadow just where you think that the sun doesn't hit. And then we'll just take the palest colour again and just blend that round the edges, just so that we don't have a line there. I'll lift this up in a minute just to show you how we're doing. Here we are, and let's just make sure we're giving our little blush back. There we are. So that's us. Right, what we want to do now is glue all these bits down and then fussy cut round all of it. So I've just got my old magazine here, and this is this piece. I've got my glue stick. There we are. Something to rub this with, a little bit of wipe. Yes, this is really a good way as well if you don't feel confident at colouring in, because these are really quite big pieces. So yeah, that's the other thing. Paper piecing works if the pieces that you're piecing are quite big. So you could do this for a flower or a butterfly, but not anything too intricate, because you don't want to be cutting out little tiny pieces. So things that are quite, stamps or anything that's quite big, have got quite good areas for cutting out, are perfect. Right, now we want to make sure we've got our crown just about there. So we'll get this down next. We'll just hold this just to make sure that we're getting it all under. Yep. And once it's all been stamped out, so I had to stamp this out, the main stamp on the watercolour card, and then stamped on the crown on that pattern, then that piece as you saw on that, and then that piece. So we stamped it out the main one, 1, 2, 3, 4 times. No, is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. That's right. Don't think that was right. And I think it just works out so well. What do you think? Yeah? So, we're just going to roughly get rid of the bulk. And fussy cut, let me just get the stickiness off my fingers. I want to go right up to the edges for this cut. I don't want to leave a border, not this time. Sometimes I leave a border around the fussy cut, but this, for some reason in my head, doesn't lend itself to having a border. I want it right on the line. I think, yep, right on the line is good for these for some reason. So we watched the last of the Roger Moore Bonds yesterday, Saturday night. So we're going to skip Timothy because the Timothy Dalton ones really aren't good. Well, we don't think so. And there's only 2 of them, so it's a box set of Bonds we've got, and I don't think we've really only watched the Timothy ones once or twice maybe. And I'm not keen. So what's the point of watching something you're not keen on? So we watched, what was the last one last night? Never, oh I can't remember, it's the one with Grace Jones in it, which is actually quite a good one as these ones go. Right, so there we have her. Yeah, and so to finish it off for the page, I have prepared this, and this paper is another piece of the paper that I used from my Nice letter. So that's another thing that's good about paper piecing. You can bring in the pieces from the background, or you can bring in to the background pieces from your image, your focal point. So I've got the green piece with the white daisies is just a little bit round the edge there, you can see it. I've got a piece of the music paper here, and yeah, and I've added a little bit of texture, a little bit of sewing here, and a little bit of sewing round the edge and round the edge here. So I thought this was a perfect background for her to sit on because it pulls everything together. Yeah, definitely. I'm just going to do that to the side slightly because I've got some words that I want to use. A nice quote. I've got, "She could believe it is a beautiful crown," and that's because she's wearing a crown, and I'm just going to put those words in there. So I'm just going to put the words on just now before I stick her down, because I want to make sure that I'm in the right spot. I thought maybe I wanted her under there, but I don't. So I've got, "She could believe she could believe it is a beautiful crown." And I'll just put that just to the side there. Whoops. And then we're going to put that directly on to my background. I'm so glad I remembered about paper piecing. I think I'll be using this a lot in future. It's working out really well. I had used it in my card making quite a lot, but I thought, oh, I haven't done paper piecing for a long time, and it does lend itself, what with the book pages and the music pages and using up things that you've got, that I've got a pattern. You could even use like the inside of the pattern on the inside of these envelopes that you get, you know, the security envelopes. You could paper piece all the different patterns. There's so many things that you could do. Yeah, pleased with that. So let's bring the journal back and let's clear away all my bits. And where was that page? I put that wee clip in just to find it. There it is. So, just take that out. And I think it goes really well because the daisies here, I used the same daisies there. And it's just, although it's different, it's sort of the same. It just blends in the two pages. So I'm just going to glue around that and get that stuck down. And I'm loving this texture here that this one, yeah, great. Really pleased with how that has turned out. So, whoops, let's get some glue. So I would love to hear if you give it a go, if you try paper piecing, or if you've done it before and you've got any hints and tips that I don't know about. Just leave a comment, that would be great. Here we are, be straight, yep. Just give that a be straight here, yep. It's got to be straight. Oh, now I just I'm happy, so happy I am with how that's turned out. Yes, I'll definitely be paper piecing all my stamps. Well, all the ones with the bigger pieces that can be done like this. It's really nice. So that's my second page done in this. This was my first, so quite different. That's just kind of more collage with some bits of Happy Mail and whatnot, and this is paper piecing. So yeah, so I'm going to leave it there. Thanks very much for joining me today, and take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.